The show Lord of the Rings: The Rings of Power is finally available on Amazon Prime. Eagerly awaited by fans since its acquisition by the industry giant in 2017, the enormous production is a prequel to the Peter Jackson trilogy and recounts Middle-earth's Second Age. Hello there viewers, and welcome back to another video on our channel. Today, we bring to you 6 shocking facts about Lord of the Rings: The Rings of Power, so stay tuned and let's get into it right now. Amazon reportedly spent a pretty penny producing this entire series, $1 billion to be precise. Yeah, I know, you can pull your jaw back up now. It's the budget that's dedicated to the Rings of Power, making it the most expensive show ever created in television history. With very huge means invested in the show, Amazon used every means possible to prevent any leak, as was already the case for Game of Thrones. In order to keep everything secret for Tolkien fans, serious security measures were put in place. According to the Amazon studio boss, the rooms where the writers work are highly secured. Lord of the Rings: The Rings of Power released its first episode on September 2nd, 2022. Beyond the idea to release the show at the beginning of the school year for commercial purposes, it's also a symbolic date for the creator of the Middle-earth universe, since it's Tolkien's death anniversary. In fact, the Lord of the Rings author died on September 2nd of 1973, that is to say 49 years ago, or 50 years if you will. A very nice tribute to the father of modern fantasy. Before we move any further, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so yet. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell to stay updated of our future uploads. Now let's get back to our video. 6 shocking facts about Lord of the Rings: The Rings of Power. Number 6. Sauron tricks the elves in the form of Anatar. Sauron's role as Morgoth's devoted lieutenant during the First Age is not forgotten by the elves, which is why he initially tries to obtain allegiance from men. However, he soon realizes that the only real way to create and hold on to power would be to ally with the elves, even temporarily. Sauron, therefore, manifests a fictional entity known as Anatar in the Second Age, a time which will be the setting of the Rings of Power, managing to eke out a welcome from most Elven lands. While Galadriel, Gil-galad, and Eldron have their suspicions about his real identity, they're unable to prove it, however. Number 5. The Elven rings are untainted by Sauron's will. To an extent, actually. Celebrimbor forges the Elven rings without Sauron's knowledge or influence, although it must be noted that they still technically fall within the ambit of the One Ring. The 3 rings are not capable of granting invisibility, but their innate healing powers allow wielders to regenerate and safeguard their dominions. In fact, it's stated that Nenya and Vilya, the rings that belong to Galadriel and Elrond respectively in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, are partly responsible for the peace in Rivendell and Lothlorien, while Narya, the ring belonging to Gandalf, encourages and inspires those oppressed by Sauron. Number 4. The One Ring has some major limitations. Since the One Ring contains only Sauron's will, it's basically a shiny reflection of his evil soul. He uses it to great effect, manipulating the readers of Numenor into committing unforgivable atrocities, such as attempting to besiege Valinor. However, this great ring of power is nothing more than a worthless piece of jewelry to people like Tom Bombadil, meaning that the One Ring is not omnipotent, not even by a long shot. More importantly, any of the Valar could probably crush it between their thumb and forefinger if they tried. Number 3. The nature and location of the 9 rings remain a mystery. The 9 rings work exactly as intended. Each man who receives one is completely taken over, body and soul, by Sauron. The rings transform these once human kings into ghoulish specters of their former selves, tormented ghosts called the Ringwraiths. Interestingly, Tolkien wrote that the 9 the Nazgul keep, but Frodo clearly notes that they're devoid of rings when they attack him on Aemon Sul. This could either be an editorial oversight or mean that Sauron has the 9 in his personal possession. However, with the Rings of Power delving deeper into these mysteries, it may finally reveal exactly what the fate of the 9 may be. Number 2. The rings were created in sets. While most Lord of the Rings fans know that the Rings of Power were separated into different groups and distributed among the men, elves, and the dwarves, not everyone realizes that the rings were specifically created in sets, each for their respective owners. Thereby, All the rings that were eventually passed on to the 9 kings of men were created together, with the 7 rings of the dwarves being created separately and specifically. The Elven rings, however, were created entirely separate so that they wouldn't come under the sway of Sauron and the One Ring to rule them all. Number 1. Extra connection to Tolkien. Every fan of the Lord of the Rings is familiar with its prolific creator and author J.R.R. Tolkien. However, many fans may not be familiar with Tolkien's strange and completely coincidental connection to the Rings of Power in his magnum opus. Tolkien died in 1973, a year that has great significance to those learning about the Rings of Power. Each number in Tolkien's year of death corresponds to one set among the rings. 1 ring to rule them all, 9 for the kings of men, 7 for the dwarf lords, and 3 for the elves. While a coincidence, this connection is a strange and interesting addition to the lore of the Lord of the Rings fandom. So these are the 6 shocking facts regarding the show Rings of Power, so make sure to watch the full series on Amazon Prime when it drops.